What's up, Patriots? Welcome back to the Progressive Playbook. I am your humble dealer, continuing our discussion on higher education. In the last video, I was saying that making college free and canceling student loan debt would solve the issue of crippling student loan debt in the US, but I had a few issues with it. One is that I don't think wiping student loan debt is fair for those who save their money to pay for college or pay off their loans. Two is that by making college free, we are turning college into even more of a requirement in our society just to get that diploma. And even a married college-educated couple still find it difficult to earn enough money to afford a house. Half of college graduates end up in jobs that don't need a bachelor's degree. Gen Z sees the wins and are exploring other forms of continued education such as trade school, which leads to pretty decent earning, stable, hard to automate jobs that require a lot of experience in problem solving. These clips are taken from a much longer video highlighting a bunch of great trades. I'll leave the link in the description. For some reason, these sorts of jobs aren't as prestigious in society, but they're very needed lines of work. And finally, my third complaint about free college is that it doesn't encourage educational innovation on the institutional level, in a time when the world is rapidly changing, as is the landscape of jobs. But it's easy to poke holes at an idea. The spirit of this channel is that we don't stop there. So in this video, I'm going to propose a new idea that addresses these three things. I call it universal knowledge bonds. It's somewhat similar to the baby bonds idea proposed by Professor Derek Hamilton, but here's how the universal knowledge bonds work. From the time a US citizen is born, that person gets, say, $1,500 every year in the form of a US government bond that is in a special account. This account may be opened only when the person turns 18, by which point, after compounding interest, they'll have roughly $30,000. We'll use simple numbers for this. This $30,000 may only be used for qualified places of learning, and these institutions must apply to get on the approved list. So which institutions will qualify? Pretty much any place that is providing a legitimate education at a reasonable cost. So trade schools should easily qualify, as should community colleges. Each of these may cost $10,000 for 2 years of tuition, and you can also spend your knowledge bond on school-related costs like room and board and books, which could cost another $10,000, leaving you with $10,000. Four-year public universities shouldn't have a problem qualifying as well, but similar to the rule of the free college plan, colleges must tamp down on administrative costs to keep their tuitions low. Let's say they can't charge more than $8,000 a year for tuition, so $32,000 for 4 years. So you could spend your entire knowledge bond on a 4-year university and have to pay the difference of $2,000, which is much more affordable. Plus, this plan doesn't bar any other financial aid, so if you're from a low-income family, you may be able to use Pell Grants to make up that difference. And schools will want to get approved. Even some wealthier people may not like the idea of going to a private, expensive institution, knowing they have $30,000 locked away and can't be used in these situations. Who knows, maybe some private schools will also try to qualify for knowledge bonds by keeping their tuition rates below the threshold. So far it sounds just like Free College Act, right? Just that instead of tying the money to the institutions, we're tying it to the individuals. But the first benefit of doing this way is it's a universal system. Remember, one of the big advantages of a universal system is that everyone benefits. So whether you're rich or poor, we as a collective are far more likely to want to protect it. We as a collective are saying we are invested in everyone's pursuit of knowledge. So if you're under the age of 18, you would end up with $30,000 when you turn 18. But if you're not, likely there's still something for you, and this solves my first complaint about student loan debt cancellation being unfair. According to my plan, you would get an adjusted knowledge bond based on this chart and when you turned 18. Like, I would only get around $20,000 since I went to college in the late noughties. If you went to school in the year 2000, you probably get $10,000. 1990 will get you $5,000. 1980 will get you $1,000. If you went as far back as 1970, when college was much more affordable, you wouldn't get much of anything.
Hey, I liked your song too.
Okay, sport. Here's a fat-free yogurt.
For those of us who do get that adjusted amount, we can use it to pay off student debts, or if we already paid off our student debts, we just get it in our bank accounts. If you didn't attend tertiary school at all, you still get the money, but it's sitting in your knowledge bond account. You might notice in many pathways other than a 4-year institution, you'll have money left over. So what do you use that extra money for? This is where we get the second exciting feature of the knowledge bond. It's pro-freedom. That knowledge bond money is there for you in that account for as long as you'd like. Like, maybe at the age of 18 you aren't ready to go to college, and that's fine. We may see more people enter the workforce right after high school so they can start working on a problem of the world right away, and then seeing what training they need, and then they go for that training later, whether that requires a university degree or an accreditation course or trade school. By putting money in the hands of people specifically for knowledge, we would be empowering them to take their knowledge journey into their own hands.
Instead of seeing what they want you to see, you gotta open your brain to the possibilities.
This includes individual classes as well, and these classes would certainly be approved so long as they are priced reasonably. Whether you're 28 or 53, if you've been working for a while and you want to bolster your career by learning computer programming or project management or business development, you can do that. Or maybe you want to diversify your knowledge with something fun and enriching that connects you with your friends or the greater community, like salsa dancing or cooking or jiu-jitsu. You can do that too. Here in Singapore, there's a similar idea, the SkillsFuture program, which subsidizes Singaporean citizens to keep taking courses throughout their lives, really embracing the spirit of my belief that learning is lifelong. For the Knowledge Bond, it's not just freedom in what you want to take and when, it's also the where. One key difference from free college is that it doesn't get the states involved at all, so this concept of in-state or out-of-state tuition is just gone. You grew up in Nebraska and you want to go to school in Oregon or vice versa, that's great. You grew up in New Mexico and you want to study in Korea, you can do that too. That's right, you can go to school outside the country because the money is tied to you, so it's an investment in you, not the school. So long as the school is on the approved list, you're good.
You're a mad genius.
Any institution in the world could qualify. Let's say you do 2 years of Peace Corps and realize you want to spend 4 years studying environmental science in Denmark or microbiology with the world-class scientists at the Curie Institute in France. If we believe Americans are hardworking, friendly, and optimistic people, it's good to spread that positive influence around the world, and our students become our ambassadors of culture. Not only that, Americans go out and learn the best ideas from people in different countries, and should they choose to move back to the States, they bring those ideas with them, and that's how America moves forward. This is one thing that I think makes America great. It's the freedom of original thought and the infrastructure to innovate and spread culture. And this brings me to my third benefit of the Knowledge Bond. It encourages systemic innovation. With the Knowledge Bond, there's a high demand for education for people of all ages. We don't necessarily need just universities, community colleges, and trade schools to meet that demand. I think we would see an explosion of education centers from places like Coursera or Udemy that can provide quality education for lower cost. Some companies that put courses on there already, like Google, may choose to open their own school. Imagine a company with as much clout as Google saying they're opening a 2-year intensive program that costs as much as trade school and blends classroom training with real-life work experience with Google, and upon completion you're pretty much guaranteed a junior programmer position in their company. So that's 2 years less school and 2 years more income-generating work experience at a young age. And other Big 4 tech companies might see this and follow suit. The Big 4 consulting firms could do the same. My college buddy did an economics major at our alma mater, Virginia Tech. If you look at the major requirements, you only need 2 years worth of econ, math, and stats classes to be a competent economist, maybe even just 1 year if you really push it. They just pad the course load with a bunch of fluff to make it a 4-year program. Now you could do what my buddy did and pick up an additional math major and stat minor, but some people just want the econ or finance or accounting degree. They may want to save that extra 2 years worth of money for classes later in life. People would certainly be enticed by a 2-year comprehensive program that lands you a job at one of the biggest consulting firms in the world. And then over time, these 2-year programs become recognized anywhere, not just these big companies. For people who want to go to college, it's an academically and socially enriching experience. I personally had a wonderful time. I just think an idea like this would help take the edge off the importance we place on it in our society, so that people aren't looked down upon for not having a 4-year degree. Perhaps 2-year degrees become the primary model in a world that's changing faster than ever before, because if you're spending all that money for a 4-year degree that may not be relevant by the time you graduate, you may want other options, other programs that keep more of your knowledge bond in your account so that you can adapt to the ever-changing world by taking classes later in life. So I'm clearly biased, but I'm going to give my own plan 4 stars, a notch above free college. But not quite 5 stars because I'm not a policy wonk. This is all out of my own head and it hasn't been tried or tested. So typically a 4-star plan is one that looks good on paper and is worth doing some pilot tests before you can roll it out for 330 million people. But what do you think of this plan? Is it good? Is it absolutely horrendous? I'd love to hear your thoughts, share your great ideas below, and if you enjoyed this video, be sure to join me in the next video where we will wrap up this journey and build our launch pad to enter the value core. And if you're trusting my voice, do show your love by hitting me with that sweet LSB, like, subscribe, and bell, and I'll deal ya the next one.